G'day and welcome to Aussievision. Today we're talking about one of the big five nations that have been very successful recently. It is Italy, and they're entrant this year. And I'm going to throw to Liv because she is our Italian Sanremo expert across the board. Who is Italy's entrant this year?
It's Måneskin, and they're singing Zitti, buoni.
Thank you very much for that one. So we're going to talk today about what the televote and jury appeal will be for this song, in our humble opinion. We're going to do this by ranking them out of 10. So we're going to start off straight away with the jury and get everyone to reveal their scores out of 10. All right, here we go and go. Hey, all right, 8, 7, 7.5. Let's start with Kyriakos on the lower end of things. Why did you only give it 7?
Because I don't know. It's definitely a risky entry. So I think it sounds contemporary, it sounds fresh for a rock song, but yeah, don't know how the jury are going to go with the rock genre. And that's the biggest question mark I have. So that's why I still gave it a 7. But yeah, don't know how the jury are going to take it.
No, fair enough. And Liv, what do you think?
Well, I gave it 7.5, and as much as I feel like this song deserves everything, because honestly, the message is so deep and poetic when you actually know it. We know anecdotally that juries can shy away from these quintessentially Italiana type songs. And then on top of that, it's sort of a bit glam. It's got rap. It's just, there's so many different elements of rock in there that I could very much see a jury turning off when it comes to it. But there's enough complexity that I'm thinking that, they might appreciate it. So it might do well, might do pretty average.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? What about you, Mike? You had a 7.5 as well.
I actually gave it a 7, Dale. But look, I'll agree with here. First of all, rock is always a genre that can go a little bit either way with juries. We're dealing with a 5-person panel. All it takes is 2 of them really to vote it down, and all of a sudden that jury score gets really, really pulled down. This isn't going to appeal to everyone, but for those who it appeals to, it's going to get a high score. It's just, if that can be the majority of the jury, then it will be rewarded. If somehow, it gets held back by a couple, you'll find it drops down. So it's just the nature of the jury vote.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything everyone said. And I think why I went a little bit higher on it is I think it's one of those ones about the complete package again. I think they've got something really interesting and unique. I don't feel like this is that kind of shout. I mean, it's very loud, but it's not that shouty like 2018, 2 men shouting at me in Italian. And that's just totally Italian, and the message had to be something else across for the televote. I think for this, there is something, the rock for sure is always a tricky one about how that's going to work with, but there's something in terms of that way that they can present it and they present themselves rather than just stand up and do a rock song, that I think that juries, again, will go for a package, go for something that is working overall. But at the same time, just like I think you said, Liv, I could see it completely flopping as well. And it could be a 6.5 out, or could jump up to a 9. I feel it's a big question mark when you get a genre that's not normally in Eurovision, and they've been a bit inconsistent on the past about how they've treated rock songs. So yeah, kind of up in the air on that one on the jury. So no, I agree. All right. Well, what about the televote? Italians entries normally do pretty good here, but what do we think? Time to reveal the scores. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Liv, we got our second 10 so far overall. Why do you think it is a 10 out of 10?
Yes, I gave it 10 punti because I think this is going to win the televote of the whole contest. Like, I'm just going to say it, that this song, I feel like, everyone's cooped up. We're sick of COVID. This song is so rebellious. It comes out on stage, just goes, bah, bah, bah. And there's so many really slick pop songs this year and, good ballads. But this is neither of them. This is just something else that's just, and you can tell that these boys and girls are just kind of like, yeah, we're doing our thing. And I feel like there's a speed, there's a power. It just transcends everything. And I just think it's going to win the televote.
I love the passion. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I gave it an 8. There is mass appeal here. These guys are so magnetic when they perform. You can't take your eyes off them, etc. Again, genre's not going to be for everybody, but at the same token, mass appeal. And we always see Italy do pretty well with the televote. This one's going to stand out. This one, I think, will be at the pointy end of the televote, definitely.
And Kyriakos, what do you think?
Look, I have to agree with Liv and Mike as well. We've been following the weekly streams and YouTube views on the Aussievision website, and they get 2 million plus streams on Spotify and 2 million plus views on YouTube every week. And yeah, there's definitely a fan base behind them and people that love the song. And yeah, as a whole package on the stage, you'll probably come across a lot more stronger with the televote.
Yeah, I think I went for the 9 out of 10. Italy generally do well. And then for those who may not really get into that kind of thing, this has just got something that transcends language and styles and whatever. It's just this remarkable package that comes together. It's won me over, and I don't normally go for this type of stuff. And I know it has won a lot of other people over who wouldn't normally go for it. So to me on the night says this is one you're not going to forget. Everyone's going to be like, oh, those guys who did that rock thing. It's not really even like, oh, they happen to be Italian, is more the secondary part of the act. And I think it's going to do really well. I'm not going to go full on as the Liv, as in taking out the whole thing, but I think they're going to be very high in that televote. I feel like it can be a third place kind of thing in the televote or second, or it could win it for sure. Like it's a question mark because again, how will people go for it? And actually, one thing I want to say as well, what you said, Liv, about people being frustrated, and like I think it's not. We're going to have so many party songs, and there's a little bit of that going. Like, well, we're not partying; people are still dying in the street, kind of thing. But they don't want to be sad. Everyone's a bit frustrated. And to me, this is the perfect song to let that out in a kind of fun, aggressive way, if that makes sense. And I think it might capture the mood. And I think the song that captures the mood this year might win. So talking about which, obviously they're straight through the grand final. How are they going to do? Liv, how do you think this song will do?
Best case scenario, I actually think they can win the whole thing. Worst case scenario, maybe like 5th.
So you think Rusted on top 5 with a potential win?
Yep.
Love the confidence. Yeah. Love it. Kyriakos.
Yeah, for sure top 10, possibly top 5, and even a dark horse to win the whole thing.
Nice. And Michael?
I'm in exactly the same spot as Liv on this one. It can win. If it gets on the right treatment on the night, it can finish 5th, but I can't see it finishing any lower than that, to be honest. It's just too good.
Yeah, I think it's a sneaky chance to win as well. I'm feeling another 2nd and 3rd for Italy, though. I think it might just not be enough for everybody. And maybe that jury one, which we've got the question mark on, could end up costing it, where you might get someone with both. But I do think I'd be surprised if it goes below 5th. I think they'd have to dog the staging like they did for Francesco back in 2017. They'd have to dog it again to not make that top 5. They're looking pretty good at this stage. All right. Well, overall, if I've done my math correctly, and I'll correct myself if I'm wrong in the editing process, but I've got this as 7.5 in the jury and an 8.8 in the televote. So I think that summarizes it pretty well. Very high on the televote, but a question mark on the jury for us at this point. All right. Well, look, thanks everyone so much for joining us. Let's see how Italy does. And thanks very much to the Aussievision team, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.